Prepare for a clever person on the show. They're deigning to come on this show again. Another clever person. 9:22. Who might this one be, Vassos?
Our next guest is all about your pits and your bits and your lumps and your bumps. May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month. Chris has had it. My wife Caroline has it. And we all want you to avoid it. So please welcome the Diamond Doctor of Dermatology as we give it some welly for Ellie Rashid.
Good morning, Ellie.
Good morning.
Look at that smile.
Thank you for that lovely introduction.
We need that smile to brighten up today. Look at it out there. Any chance of skin issues today with the cloud cover as it is? Let's get straight in there.
So straight into it. So people need to be aware of the UV index, and you can look for the UV index on most phones now. You can see what the UV index is. So on a day where the UV index is 3 or above, which would be considered moderate, then you should be protecting your skin with sunscreen. But we always have to think of sunscreen being our last line of defense against UV radiation.
Regardless of your skin type.
Regardless of your skin type, you need to be aware of the risk of skin cancer.
Right.
But people that have darker skin are less at risk compared to people that have fair skin.
Right, okay. You can already tell. She's on it, isn't she? Dr. Ellie's on this. You a bit about you first, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So you are a dermatologist.
Yes.
So you're a skin doctor, is that?
Yeah, so the word consultant dermatologist is protected in this country. So a consultant dermatologist, someone that's been through medical school, done their medical training, dermatology training within the UK,
right.
And then they've got their certificate for completion of training.
Right.
So then they're able and qualified to manage all skin disease.
And why were you drawn to the skin as a doctor?
Generally I just worked with a dermatology team when I was a medical student, and I just thought they were really lovely people. I love what they do. I love the breadth of disease that they get to see and manage, and also the age groups that it affects. So you can see from infancy up to elderly age.
And if you were looking at the headlines for dermatology, skin cancer would be right up there. What other lanes may there be there?
So thinking about other sort of diseases that we manage, the big things. So inflammatory skin disease, so things like psoriasis, eczema, rosacea, acne, those are the sort of big inflammatory conditions that we manage.
And are some skin types more susceptible to all of these then? Because I've had athlete's foot, I've got eczema, and I've had skin cancer. It seems like I've got
unlucky.
The full catastrophe.
Just unlucky. No,
really?
there's nothing that would give you a risk, a particular risk of all skin conditions,
right.
No.
Okay. And do you have a dermoscope?
I haven't got one in my handbag, but I've got one in every clinic that I do.
Oh my God, I love dermoscopes. They're so cool, aren't they? It's like, I don't know, as a kid you always wanted a stethoscope to play with, or a compass,
Get a
or a
dermatoscope.
torch. And I think a dermoscope nowadays is a combination of all three. It's got a bit of torch going on, magnifying glass as well.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Every dermatologist will have a dermoscope.
I know we're going to jump all over the place here if you don't mind,
No
but
problem.
a handy sort of everyday dermoscope now is your camera, is your phone, isn't it?
Completely. So it's really changed how people monitor their skin, because they can take a photograph of a mole that they're a little bit worried about, not quite sure how it's behaving, looks a bit different to how they remember it. I usually recommend that people put something next to the mole, so like a coin or something, so you've got an idea of the size of it. And then just to review that every sort of 4 to 6 weeks, just to see whether it's evolving at all.
Yeah, because somebody was asking me about a mark on their skin. It actually was Nick, Aussie Nick, who works here, and I don't know anything. I just had it. I don't know anything about it. I know a bit about it, but more than some people, most people, I suppose, but nowhere near as much as you. And I said, well, if you get your phone out and you zoom in, it's almost like having a microscope, isn't it? It's like it's a rudimentary.
So detailed, yeah. The photographs that we can take now are so
and
detailed.
what appeared to be a freckle as he zoomed in looked a bit more worrying. Not that again any of us know anything, but it was less. It had less of a structure to it, an aesthetic, symmetrical structure to it, and he started to go a bit all over the place. He said, "Oh, that's it," and it's amazing, isn't it? Whether freckles or moles, once you zoom in on them, whole different ball game, whole different landscape.
A dermatoscope is still better than a...
Oh no, without question, without. I'm just saying how interesting it is.
Yeah,
even if you
can see
begin
so much
to,
detail.
a 10x zoom in is like, wow, this is a whole different world. So you began as a dermatologist how many years ago?
So I qualified from medical school in 2006,
Right.
and I've been a consultant dermatologist since 2018.
Okay, and there's so much to talk about the skin, of course, but we're focusing, because it is Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and we've only got a certain amount of time, so I'd rather do something well as opposed to more slipshod everywhere else. So, Skin Cancer Awareness, do you think that there are more cases of skin cancer now being diagnosed because we are referring ourselves more to, because of our awareness of it?
I think people are more aware of their skin. I think with the rise of social media, people are taking more photographs of their skin than ever before. With Zoom and sort of video conferencing, people are looking at each other a lot more, so might notice something on someone else's face and sort of comment on it. So I do think people are more aware, but there's still a long road to go. And I think the key message is prevention and early detection is so important. Your prognosis is completely different if you catch a skin cancer early compared to if you were to catch it later on.
So mine was caught in situ, which is as good as it gets, isn't it?
Yeah, so there are two groups of skin cancer. There's melanoma and then there's non-melanoma skin cancer. So melanoma in situ just means that the atypical cells, the cancerous cells, are limited to the very top layer of skin. So there's no deep invasion. So that's a good prognosis because that will be removed in its entirety, and often there's nothing further to be done apart from monitoring your skin and being very cautious in the sun.
Okay, and before that, so there's no such thing as a cancerous melanoma because melanoma is cancerous. It's sort of a tautology in a way, isn't it?
Yeah. So melanoma is a cancer.
So
exactly.
pre-cancer. So tell us about pre-cancer.
Yeah, so in the non-melanoma group, we have some pre-cancer. So in the non-melanoma group, we have basal cell cancer and squamous cell cancer, and there are some sort of scaly red patches that you can develop on your skin called actinic keratoses, and they can develop into a squamous cell cancer. Within the melanoma group, you have a mole, and the mole can start to become atypical. So the cells become atypical. So you have mildly atypical or mildly dysplastic, moderately, severely, and then you have melanoma in situ, and then leading on to, depending on the level of depth of invasion, melanoma.
All right. So Catherine was going to be here with us, and Catherine's from skin.org. That's skcin.org. And you were going to be the Lennon and McCartney of this conversation, but you've never met before, have you?
No.
So
we met online.
Yeah, you were asked to come in. So it's almost like this is like a blind date, and you've been stood up, but not intentionally, by the way. So we're flying solo, but you definitely do obviously want to fly the flag for Skin as well.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
Off you go.
Yeah, so Skin is a charity that was developed by Catherine, whose mother sadly passed away from melanoma. And so her mission is to create a charity to identify skin cancer early, to educate people that come into contact with the public. So it's hairdressers, beauty therapists, massage therapists, physios, podiatrists, all of these people that are looking at people's skin so that they can know what to look out for, so that they can then empower the patient to then go and get something checked out. If it just doesn't look quite right, it looks different, just get it checked out. The easiest thing to do is to go and see your GP if you're worried about a skin lesion. Then you could put your mind at ease or have it managed appropriately.
Yeah. And the sort of the accidentally fortuitous route to getting checked out might be listening to this show. It might be, for example, moving to a new town and then having somebody come work with you who needed a massage because he's an ultra runner, and then he found out where there was a masseuse, and then I needed I wanted to benefit from massage one day. I said, do you know anyone? He said, you want to go and see this lady? She's amazing. I go and see her. I then have a Friday massage from her for 7 months. And then, the next massage on from that, she says, oh, what's that? I have not noticed this mark on your left calf before. Have you seen it before? No. She said, you might want to get that looked at. The next week, she said, did you get it looked at? And I said, no. And then she gave me a bit more of a harder stare.
Amazing.
And she said, do me a favour, get it looked at. She changed her tone. So I did, and obviously it was. But all those, that sort of fait accompli, that almost what could have been a tragic comedy of errors, got me to where I needed to be. And this lady potentially saved my life,
Absolutely.
And she went on a course especially designed for massage therapists to spot.
Well, exactly. This is the course that the Skin Charity have developed to educate people about what to look for so that they can pick up skin cancer early. And she probably did save your life. Yeah,
no question about it. And I will be I don't know how to pay her back. I mean, I've booked loads of massages, but that's what the least I can do. But if you have a partner, for example, especially men often suffer from skin cancer or melanomas in the middle of their back, single men, because they don't look at their back in the mirror, because how could they, in their bathroom mirror, and they don't have somebody in their life who could spot what's on their back. And so if you have a partner, if you're lucky enough to have a partner, check each other out, check yourselves out. Can you get a friend to check you out?
Absolutely. So friend, a neighbour, someone within your support network that could just have a look at your back. The things you're looking for is ABCDE. So asymmetry of the mole. So moles often have to look nice and symmetrical. You're looking for the border. So if it looks blurred or raggedy. Colour. So often it has to be one uniform colour. If it's different colours, that's something that you need to get checked out. Exactly. D is for diameter, so anything larger than 6 millimeters, which is about the size of a pea, get checked out. And E is for evolution. So how is it evolving? Is it changing, getting bigger? So it's really important to look for those if you can on yourself. And if you can't, ask someone else to have a look. Take a photograph of your back and then come back again in a month or 6 weeks to take another photograph, and then you can monitor things that way as well.
So moles, moles can go bad, can't they? A mole you've had for years can, if it's on the move, if you notice one day it's on the move, you think that is another red flag.
Exactly.
So just because it's always been there, it doesn't mean it's gonna go bad. But conversely, it doesn't mean it won't go bad.
Precisely, yeah. So moles that you've had forever can become cancerous.
All right, now sun protection. I know a lot of people moisturise, and within daily moisturising there is now SPF, which is very handy, isn't it? Especially for the face.
It's very handy, but with the one caveat. So SPF protects you against UVB radiation, right, which is what's in most moisturisers. But we also need protection against UVA. UVA can also can increase people's risk of skin cancer and also ages our skin. And so I always say you would never put enough moisturiser on to get the true SPF coverage. So have a dedicated sunscreen that you would put on to protect yourself from UVA and UVB. So the UVA is the letters with a circle around it or a star rating. So 4 stars you want to look for.
Right, and Dr. Ellen, my dermatologist, she says from now on I always have to wear skin protection if any of my skin is naked, because I'm so susceptible. Is there one she recommends one online? It's a bit pasty. You've got to you literally spread it around, but it's 11 quid. It's much cheaper than other brands. Any you like to recommend?
Ultras,
yes,
that she recommends. Yeah. So Ultras was developed by a consultant dermatologist, and they are on an altruistic mission to educate, prevent skin cancer, and also some of the funds goes back to support albinism in Africa. So, and it's safe for the coral reef, which is also important. So yeah, you can buy it. They do a litre bottle now. Don't be liberal with your sun protection. You actually have to put on more than you realise. So for a face and neck, you have to put 2 full finger lengths worth of sunscreen to cover that entire area. Most people wouldn't put enough moisturiser with just SPF on to get that full level of protection.
I love the ABCDE thing, by the way. Now, for the first summer, this is the first summer that I will have had skin cancer. I don't have any more, thank God. And I am just covering up now. So we go on a holiday on Sunday. We're going to Portugal. Lovely. And so my UV tops, my long sleeve UV tops arrived last night. We tried them on. Is that all good? Do you recommend that?
Perfect.
Because I still want to go swimming with the kids.
Absolutely. So UV protection clothing is a great idea because that's a better line of defence against UV radiation. So
and also easy to apply. You just put it on.
Chuck it on. Yeah. Wear a wide brimmed hat. Even if you've got a baseball cap on today, that's still not protecting your ears, the lower parts of your face.
Top of the ears.
A wide brimmed hat, and also try and avoid the sun when it's at its most intense between 11 and 3.
Okay, and what about being in the water?
Yeah, so when you go into the water, you need to be aware you need to reapply your sunscreen on afterwards. So don't go in the water and then think, we'll put it on for the morning, so I'm covered for the whole day. So reapplication is really important. But also UV does penetrate into the water, and you're not, you're still going to get some UV exposure from swimming in the sea, swimming in the pool.
And people who tan really well, who tend to not, they're just not as frightened of the sun as somebody like me has always been. Obviously, I'm not as frightened now, bizarrely, as I've been for years and years, because I'm forewarned and I know what to do.
Yes.
In a way, I'm relieved by it. I've made peace with it, if you like.
Yes.
But my wife, not so much. What's your advice to people who have more natural resistance to the sun? Have they got to be as vigilant?
Yeah, so I'd still promote vigilance because it's all about sort of healthy practice and healthy habits. But someone with darker skin, with sort of my skin or with black skin, is less at risk. But I think you're still at risk of aging your skin, and so you want to protect your skin from the sun damage and aging the skin. Also, if you had any conditions on the skin, that means you've got pigmentation. Often those sorts of conditions will get worse when you're exposed to UV light.
Okay, great. So good. Vassos?
The wide-brimmed hat thing, it's so good. I mean, my wife Caroline, she's just had a thing removed, and then she had to have a bit more excavated, and we're waiting on those results. But the thing she's just gone and done this week was buy a load of hats, and she was a bit funny about buying hats. She said, "I don't think I look." She looks great in hats,
I think
and suddenly
look great in
she
them.
absolutely rocks a wide-brimmed hat, and it's so good for you, isn't it? Because it just keeps you in the shade. It's like an umbrella against sun.
Absolutely. So wide brim hat is brilliant. I think they look wonderful on everyone, and I'd always encourage someone to wear a wide brimmed hat. Sometimes people wear like little bucket hats, but it just doesn't provide enough protection for the lower parts of your face.
If you're gonna hat, go all in on the hat.
Just go
It's
all in.
again,
You
isn't
see,
it?
it's
And is
all
it
in.
true that, especially for our kids, we've got to protect our kids? When I was a kid growing up in Greece, sunscreen didn't exist and all that stuff, but it's especially, obviously, cover up now too, obviously, but especially the first 19 years of life are absolutely key.
Yeah, so in childhood and adolescence, 1 episode of blistering sunburn doubles your risk of melanoma in your lifetime. 5 episodes of sunburn will double your risk of melanoma in your lifetime. And unfortunately, 1 in 37 men will develop melanoma, 1 in 46 women will develop melanoma. So it's important to protect children. They can't make the decision, so it's up to us to make, to ensure that we're protecting them adequately and reducing their risk later on in life.
But
so
they'll do the opposite, won't they? I don't want sun cream. And it's so easy to just,
there are so many formulations now. You can even get a spray sort of sunscreen, which is relatively easy to do quickly. Toddlers will wriggle around and run off, but you just need to do it. It is essential
a red line
to protect our children.
Because I blistered loads of times as a kid, loads and loads of times. Shoulders, I can remember it now. I remember going to bed at night, blistered by the day, having to wear a t-shirt at night because everything hurt so much, and then waking up in the morning having to peel the t-shirt off because all the blisters had
Gosh.
And that happened to me on a regular basis. So that's so we don't want to be going anywhere near that anymore.
No.
Right, what about mole mapping? Where do you stand on mole mapping?
Yeah, so the clinic where I work at Welbeck, we do have a mole mapping machine. And so essentially what that is you go into a machine, lots of photographs are taken of all your moles, and it reproduces a 3D image. The best thing about it is that you can use that as a baseline, and then when you go for repeated scans, you can then use the technology to see for some subtle changes in any of those moles that may not be apparent to the naked eye. You still do need a dermatologist to review your skin, and you still need dermatologists to use a dermatoscope to look at anything that they're worried about. And the gold standard would still be, if you're suspicious about a mole, you wouldn't just take a small sample from it, you'd have to remove the mole in its entirety, just in case you might miss a bit if you just take a sample of it. So remove the whole thing, and then it gets evaluated by a dermatopathologist to look for where there might be atypical cells and how deep the invasion might be.
All right. If you do go to the Skin app and download the app, there's lots of useful apps there. The ABCDE acronym is there. Mnemonic rather, is for asymmetry, a border, colour, diameter, and evolving of different marks on your body, different blemishes. But the Skin org is spelled SKCIN.org. And Catherine, who was trying desperately to get to us today, who couldn't get to us from that organisation, is very much behind this. She's the powerhouse behind this conversation and many other conversations like it. Dee, my massage therapist, went on this course, this sort of skin cancer awareness course for people who work, in the therapy, the physical therapy of others. But like you say, hairdressers, anybody who's working with another person,
exactly,
in a personal service, from a personal service point of view.
Yeah. So they can really change lives.
Right. What have we missed? What have we missed? What should we have said that we haven't said?
Anything else that we need to say? Probably just to point out that the education that the Skin Charity do, so it's called MAST, so Melanoma and Skin Cancer Early Detection. It's £20. It's a 1-hour training course. It's available to all all people that are meeting other people
Yeah.
that want to know what to look out for. And then there's a professional version of that training course as well for healthcare professionals, so GPs or any other hospital specialist, so that they know what to look out for as well when they're reviewing patients.
All right, Ellie, thanks so much for being here.
Pleasure.
I'm sorry you're flying solo, but she did a great job, didn't she?
Aw,
Control
thank you so
room round of
much.
applause for Dr. Ellie, who saves people's lives. How did that feel?
Amazing.
That's
I love
why
this.
she got
I want
into
this
it.
every day.
Okay, you got it. Oh, wow. Dr. Ellie Rashid, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thank you
Amazing.
so much for having me.
Amazing.
Thank
You're very
you.
welcome. Anytime.
Virgin Radio.